What happens when a country music superstar collides with a seasoned television host over the meaning of artistic integrity? Live on morning television. That was the question hanging in the air inside Studio 1A, where the tension was so heavy, you could almost feel it pressing against the walls. Carrie Underwood sat across from veteran host Sheinelle Jones on the Today Show couch, her polished calm beginning to fray under an unexpected line of questioning, one that would lead to one of the most unforgettable walkouts in daytime TV history. The morning had started like any other promotional stop. Carrie arrived at Rockefeller Plaza at 6:30 a.m., her team of stylists sculpting her signature look, cascading blonde curls, flawless skin, radiant confidence. She was there to talk about her new album, a deeply personal project exploring faith, family, and the challenge of staying authentic in an industry that thrives on conformity. The plan was simple. Her publicist had prepared her for standard questions about tour dates, motherhood, and creative inspiration. Sheinelle Jones, known for her warmth and genuine curiosity, seemed the perfect fit for an easy promotional chat. But something shifted in Sheinelle's approach that morning. Maybe it was the recent debates surrounding country music and its silence on social issues. Maybe it was her own restlessness with cookie-cutter celebrity interviews. Whatever it was, she decided to dig deeper. The cameras rolled at 8:15 sharp. The first segment unfolded as expected. Smiles, laughter, a recap of Carrie's journey from American Idol champion to country music icon. They covered the new single, the tour, the family life with husband Mike Fisher and their 2 kids. Then, as the second segment began, Sheinelle's tone hardened ever so slightly. Carrie, your new album seems to take on some heavier themes. There's a lot about staying true to yourself in an industry that pressures artists to change. Can you talk about that? Carrie's smile held, but her eyes flickered. Well, Sheinelle, I think every artist struggles with that balance between success and integrity. This album came from wanting to share my voice, exactly as it is, not just what's popular. Sheinelle leaned forward. That's interesting, because there's been a lot of discussion in country music about artists who say they want authenticity, while avoiding controversy. Some critics argue that true authenticity requires taking risks, even if it costs you part of your fan base. The shift in Carrie's body language was subtle but clear. Her shoulders tightened. Her practiced smile grew more rigid. I'm not sure what you're suggesting, Sheinelle. I've always been honest about my values in my music. Of course, Sheinelle replied smoothly, but her eyes said she wasn't finished. Let's talk specifics. Your song, Stand Still. Many hear it as about faith and perseverance, but others read lines like, Stand firm when the world wants you to kneel, as commentary on today's social justice movements. It sparked debate online. Carrie's jaw set, her voice sharpening. Music is personal, Sheinelle. People interpret lyrics through their own lens. I write from my faith and my journey. If others attach different meaning, that's art. That's not me making a political statement. Sheinelle pressed on. But with your platform, don't you feel some responsibility to clarify? Your words carry weight. They can influence millions. For a moment, silence filled the studio. Carrie's hands, once resting lightly on her lap, now gripped the couch armrest. Her media training warred with her frustration. My responsibility, she said slowly, is to be true to myself. I'm not a politician. I'm a songwriter. My job is to share what's in my heart, not to deliver political commentary or meet everyone else's expectations. Sheinelle nodded, but her gaze sharpened. I understand. But in today's climate, staying neutral can look like taking a side. Your fan base is diverse, different politics, different backgrounds. When you release lyrics that can be read as commentary, aren't you already in the political conversation, whether you want to be or not? The tension in the studio was electric. Crew members exchanged uneasy glances. In the wings, Carrie's publicist shifted, sensing danger. This was no longer a standard morning show interview. It was a high-stakes showdown, and the outcome was far from certain. You know what, Chale? Carrie's voice was measured, but the edge underneath was unmistakable. I came here to talk about my music, my art, and my upcoming tour. I didn't come here to be interrogated about my politics or to defend every lyric I've ever written just to satisfy someone else's definition of authenticity. Chal didn't flinch. Years of journalism had trained her to keep her composure, even as the atmosphere grew heavier by the second. I understand that, Carrie. Truly I do. But our viewers want more than press releases and polished answers. They want honesty. You have millions of fans who see you as a voice they can trust. Don't they deserve clarity when your songs brush against issues they care deeply about? Clarity, Carrie repeated, her voice rising for the first time. The professional mask she'd worn so carefully cracked ever so slightly. My music has always been clear about who I am. Faith, family, love, heartbreak, growth. If people want to twist those things into political statements, that reflects the times we live in. Not my intentions. The camera operators leaned in, catching every flicker of expression. Carrie's usual warmth was gone, replaced by a sharpened defensiveness. Chale stayed steady, but her persistence carried a quiet intensity. Let's take your song Higher Ground, Chale pressed. You sing about building walls of faith and protecting what's sacred. Given the current political conversation around walls and borders, can you honestly say you didn't anticipate those lyrics being read as political? Carrie let out a short, humorless laugh. So now I can't write about spiritual protection without someone accusing me of sending coded political messages. That's exactly the problem, Chale. Everything gets dissected until the meaning is lost. Higher Ground is about rising above negativity, about finding spiritual strength, not about immigration policy. I understand your intent, Chale replied evenly. But intent and impact aren't always the same. If your words are being used in political contexts, doesn't that create a responsibility for you to address the disconnect? Something in Carrie finally gave way. The cracks in her composure widened. Her breathing quickened. Her body shifted restlessly. You want to talk responsibility? She said, her voice hard now. My responsibility is to my art, to my family, to being true to who I am. It is not to micromanage how every single person interprets every single word I sing. If I obsessed over every possible misinterpretation, I'd never write another song in my life. Chale leaned back, but her eyes never left Carrie. Fair enough. But you have to admit, your recent work has a sharper edge than before. There's a shift in tone. Songs like Draw the Line and No Compromise suggest you're taking stronger stances. Would you agree? Carrie's eyes narrowed. Her media training slipped further, emotion surging through her words. And what if I am? What if I'm done walking on eggshells? What if I'm tired of watering myself down just to keep everyone comfortable? You keep throwing around the word authenticity. Well, maybe authentic Carrie isn't as neat and palatable as the version you're used to seeing. The studio went silent. The usual background chatter of producers and crew had vanished. Everyone was frozen, watching the clash unfold in real time. Carrie's publicist, now pacing at the edge of the set, looked ready to step in. Chale, sensing she was standing at the edge of something volatile, tilted her head slightly and asked the question that would break it all open. So what you're saying, she said carefully, is that you are deliberately making your music more confrontational? That you're moving away from safe universal themes and leaning into conflict? Carrie's eyes flashed. Confrontational, she repeated, her voice low but pulsing with anger. Carrie's eyes flashed, caught somewhere between anger and hurt. Is that what we're calling it now? Confrontational. When a woman speaks her mind? When she refuses to shrink herself into a neat little box that keeps everyone else comfortable? I've spent 20 years being told to smile prettier, sing sweeter, and never make waves. Maybe I'm done with that version of myself. I'm not trying to diminish your experience, Chale said carefully, though her tone carried the weight of a journalist who knew she was circling something vital. But with great platform comes great responsibility. Your words influence people. They shape opinions. When you sing about drawing lines, about refusing compromise, people listen. Sometimes they act on those words. That was the moment Carrie stood. The abruptness of her movement startled the crew, cameras struggling to keep her in frame. For a heartbeat, she lingered there, visibly trembling with the force of her restraint. And there it is, she said, her voice edged with fury. The assumption that I'm responsible for how the world twists and weaponizes my art. That I should censor myself, clip my own wings, because someone somewhere might misunderstand. That's not my burden to carry. That's not what I'm saying. Chale interjected, still seated, hands folded to project calm. I'm asking you to acknowledge the power of your platform. Sometimes clarity serves your fans better than ambiguity. Clarity? Carrie repeated, her voice cracking into anger. You want clarity? Here it is. I am tired. Tired of interviews like this one, where I'm treated like a puzzle to be solved instead of an artist to be celebrated. Tired of having to justify my existence as a complete human being with complicated thoughts and feelings. The studio was silent, but for the sharp rhythm of her breathing. Her chest rose and fell with barely contained emotion. Carrie, please, Chale said softly, gesturing toward the couch. Why don't we get back to your tour dates? I think we've gotten a little off track. Carrie shook her head, her laugh sharp and bitter. Off track? No, Chale. We're exactly on track. This is what these shows have turned into. Gotcha journalism dressed up as friendly conversation. You invite me here to promote my music, then spend the entire time trying to pin me down, dissect me, strip me bare for your narrative. That's not my intention, Chale insisted, though her eyes betrayed a flicker of defiance. I'm asking real questions, questions your fans care about. Art doesn't exist in a vacuum. It has context. It has impact, whether you like it or not. My fans don't need you to interpret my lyrics for them, Carrie snapped back. They understand what music is supposed to be. Connection, emotion, discovery. They don't need footnotes. They don't need me to explain away every word so it fits into your neat little boxes. The control room debated frantically whether to cut to commercial. Carrie's publicist had already moved dangerously close to the set, face pale, bracing for damage control. Chale leaned in once more, perhaps sensing this was slipping beyond her grasp, but unable to let go. I respect that, Carrie, I do. But I think you're mischaracterizing what I'm asking. I'm not here to trap you. I'm here to ask you to engage with reality. Your art does live inside a political and social context. That's not me. It's the world we're in. And I am telling you, Carrie shot back, her voice rising with raw emotion, that I refuse to be shackled by that. I refuse to let other people's interpretations dictate my art. If that makes me controversial, so be it. But I won't be silenced by fear. The words landed like a challenge, vibrating through the room. For a long moment it seemed like the confrontation might plateau there, tense, explosive, but containable. But then Chale made a fatal mistake. Her journalistic instinct overrode her sense of timing. But Carrie, she said, her voice calm but cutting, don't you think that attitude is privileged? You have the luxury of creating art without considering its impact because you're insulated from the consequences. Not everyone has that privilege. The effect was immediate. Carrie's face shifted in rapid succession. Shock, hurt, then something darker, more resolute. The audience at home could sense it. A line had been crossed. She stared at Chale for a long moment, and when she spoke, her voice was deadly quiet. Privileged, she repeated, the word carrying the weight of years of struggle, criticism, and public scrutiny. You think my position is privileged? You think I'm insulated from consequences, Chale? I've been scrutinized, criticized, and judged for every single thing I've said and done for the past 20 years. Every outfit, every song, every public appearance has been dissected by people who think they know me better than I know myself. Chale opened her mouth to respond, perhaps to clarify or apologize, but Carrie pressed forward. I've had my faith questioned, my parenting criticized, my marriage analyzed, and my music dismissed. I've been called too country for pop, too pop for country, too political, not political enough. And through it all, I've tried to maintain grace, to be the person everyone expected me to be. But apparently that's still not enough for you. The studio was utterly silent now. Carrie's voice, instead of breaking, grew stronger with each word. You want to talk about privilege? The privilege is thinking you can sit there and demand that I justify my art to satisfy your version of social responsibility. The privilege is assuming that your interpretation of my music is more valid than mine. She moved toward the edge of the set, her decision already made. I came here to share my music with people who might enjoy it, to connect with fans, to talk about the creative process that brings me joy. Instead, I've been lectured about responsibilities and accused of being privileged and insulated. Carrie, wait! Chale called out, standing now, her composure slipping as she realized what was happening. I think there's been a misunderstanding. I wasn't trying to attack you. But Carrie turned back one last time, her voice carrying the sharp finality of a door slamming shut. No, Chale, there's no misunderstanding. This went exactly as you planned. You wanted a reaction, a moment. Well, congratulations. You got it. She gestured toward the cameras, still rolling, capturing everything. But you also lost something today. You lost the chance to have a real conversation about art, creativity, and the joy of making music. With steady hands, Carrie unhooked her microphone. I won't sit here and be lectured about privilege by someone who thinks they can reduce 20 years of my life to morning show talking points. Please don't leave. Chale pleaded, her professional mask breaking, desperation creeping into her voice. We can start over. Talk about your music, your tours. But Carrie was already passing her microphone to a stunned technician. No, we can't start over. This is who you are as an interviewer. And this is who I am as an artist. The difference is, I don't have to sit here and pretend otherwise. With that, she walked off the set, heels striking the studio floor with sharp, decisive clicks. Chale stood frozen on camera, speechless, for perhaps the first time in her broadcasting career, as the cameras continued rolling. And there you have it, one of the most dramatic walkouts in daytime television history. What began as a routine promotional interview turned into a clash between two strong women with starkly different perspectives on art, responsibility, and authenticity. Make sure to subscribe for more incredible stories like this one. And let me know in the comments, do you think Carrie was right to stand up for her artistic integrity